All righty, everybody. Welcome to the special week of the Casual Sports Podcast, where me and Doug are going to talk about something special on why did the San Francisco 49ers made it to the Super Bowl this year. So, like I said,
my phone's ringing. 1 second.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. And this great podcast where Doug is kind of screwing this up right now because he's ordering food instead of doing podcasts, but it's okay. It don't matter because we're going to talk about how this season. So, like I said, this year we're trying to do it special. This is kind of like my idea right over here where we talk about the two teams that made it to the Super Bowl. So for this week, we're going to talk about why did the 49ers made it to the Super Bowl this year.
Worst timing with DoorDash, eh?
Yeah, this is the worst time for door dashing. I can't believe it. We're doing door dashing instead of podcasting.
There should be a DoorDash ad right here.
Yeah.
DoorDash should pay me for ordering from them.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, you should have had the food come right to you, like hologram it, like teleport that. But anyway, I was just talking about that this is actually my idea where we get to talk about the two teams that made it to the Super Bowl. So this is going to be different from our tier makers. So we're going to go a recap of the season of why did the San Francisco 49ers make it to the Super Bowl. But firstly, I got to say, what is your thoughts on the 49ers making it this far to one game to maybe get in the Lombardi?
First thought, unbiased thought is I'm not surprised. We've been saying this all year. Biased thought, they got lucky. They should have lost the Packers. They should have lost the Lions, but they didn't. That's why we're here. So yeah, on the surface, no surprise. In reality, it was a tougher road than it probably should have been for them. And hopefully they play a lot better against the Chiefs. Otherwise, I don't think they'll beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think for these two teams, and then we're going to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, this is probably the least interesting, I feel, with the two teams that have made it to the Super Bowl. Like, I think it would have been a lot more fun if we would have done a Ravens or the Lions made it to the Super Bowl. I feel like that would have been a much more interesting story since they have, like, a lot of, like, trauma, and especially the Lions, where it's, like, a lot of, like, bad trauma and failure, where it's like, oh, they made it to the Super Bowl. But
yeah, there's definitely a disappointing aspect of a repeat from the 2019 Super Bowl here.
Yeah, and that's why it's going to be interesting because, like I said, we're doing like a repeat of 2019. And like I said, these are the two teams that made it. So I guess we'll talk about the 49ers, who has not won a Super Bowl since if I try to remember correctly, it's been the 90s. It's been like the 94-95 season. They had that one blip in the Dallas Cowboys dynasty when the Cowboys beat the Bills twice. And then I'm trying to think, who did the 49ers beat that year? I know the 49ers did beat. I'm trying to think. That's a good yeah. That is a good question.
I don't remember the Bills made all those Super Bowls, but it felt like around the Bills.
But I don't think the Bills made it after that because they made it. It was the Bills lost to the Giants with that bad kick. The Bills lost to the Redskins, or formerly the Redskins, now the Commanders, and then they lost twice to the Cowboys. So I know they didn't make it afterwards. So it was like Super Bowl win. Who did they play against? Who did the 49ers play? And I'm looking up the great Wikipedia on this one because, like I said, we are a tier level podcast and not hack frauds, like most people would say. So they played against the Chargers. My God, the Chargers actually made it to a Super Bowl?
That is a very surprising piece of information.
Yes! I'm like, wait a minute, the Chargers had a good year? Who was the quarterback for the Chargers? I know that was Montana. Like, if I'm trying to remember correctly, I know Jerry Rice was in the team. But like I said, I digress. Sorry. I went to a long rant and talked about the 49ers. But like I said, it's been a long time. It's been since the 90s. it's almost been, dare I say, almost 30 years since a team has won a Super Bowl. I mean,
It would feel bad for them if the Lions had won a single Super Bowl. But you're
yeah, that's
not
true.
going to get a lot of sad feelings from me from a team that's actually won 5.
5 Super Bowls, and 4 of them were in the 80s.
That's pretty wild too.
Yes. So
Well,
it's like,
I think
yeah,
I've told the story before, but I remember when I was like, I must have been about 9 years old, and the Pistons won the championship. And my dad looked at me, he's like, remember this, because it doesn't happen all the time. I was like, oh no, they'll be great again. And they have been terrible for 10 years.
oh my
you know?
God.
And like that's why you gotta appreciate these moments, because it's been 30 years since the 49ers won one. I think
Yeah.
of the 49ers, the powerhouse, but they lost in 2013, they lost in 2019.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So like I said, we discussed like all this, and we're going to discuss like a little blip of the last 5 years of the 49ers, where the last time they made it to the Super Bowl was in the 2019, where they were both the rugged underdogs. It was like the 49ers versus the Chiefs. And oh my goodness, but like I said, we'll discuss it when we get to the why did the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, but lost to that Super Bowl with not Kaepernick. That's a different Super Bowl with Garoppolo as the quarterback. But then, unfortunately, in 2020, they got the bad case of the injury bowl, and they didn't make it to the playoffs. And the next 2 years, they really struggled. They really could not make it win the NFC Championship. The first time they lost to the Rams, if I remember correctly, and then in 2022 they decided for last year, they were like, all right, Garoppolo's not the man. We can't do it. Jimmy, Pretty Boy ain't going to win us a Lombardi. He's done. So we're going to trade up all our stuff for Trey Lance. He's going to be our future.
Franchise QB.
He's the franchise QB. Even though I think at the time, and I would still argue to this now, that was a worse trade to get Trey Lance. I'm sorry. Even if they do win the Super Bowl, that was probably the worst trade. I was actually watching the video on 5 Points Vids where he talked about the worst NFL trades in all the teams. And for the 49ers, it's this trade. And honestly, if what would happen in last season with Daniel Jones like playing so well, I think if Daniel Jones played really badly or they had another quarterback, I think this team would be in a bad shape right now. I don't think they would be making it to the Super Bowl.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
I think that Trey Lance deal was terrible. They got really bailed out by getting Mr. Purdy.
Yeah, honestly, they had Mr. Purdy, and I feel like that really did save them in the midway to the season. But unfortunately, the injury bowl last season got him out.
Can I ask an off-topic question for you, Stusif?
Yes.
How do you feel about Trey Lance on the Cowboys? Do you think he'll ever amount to anything, or is he just going to be a career backup kind of guy?
I don't know. We've got to see how he goes. You know what I mean?
I think
like
that's a good trade by the
Cowboys.
Cowboys.
Really had a shot in the 49ers. Like, that's how I kind of feel. I don't think he had like a couple games. I feel like if he had like a full season or maybe a couple seasons, then maybe I could assess. But I don't think you can really assess on Trey Lance yet. You can't really say he's a bust.
No. He played, 2 games?
Yeah, 2 games and got hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about this before the recording too, Stu, how quick we were to judge coaches now. Like, where like there's all these Hall of Famers that got 5+ years of losing records, and then like we don't give quarterbacks like the Peyton Manning anymore. Like Peyton Manning would have been given a hard time in today's day and age because he threw so many interceptions.
Yeah. I mean, heck, people always forget that Brett Favre used to be an Atlanta Falcons player before he got traded to the Packers to then terrorize the Lions fans for almost 2 decades.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong. It's like, oh my goodness. Like, man, that was a great trade for the Falcons.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's always so hard. Yeah. No, not looking very good.
Yeah, but like I said, we're talking about the 49ers. We're not talking about the other teams that hasn't made it to the Super Bowl. But like I said, Last year, they got close, but unfortunately, Brock Purdy got hurt. They went down to their fourth quarterback at that point, and there was really no hope for them to make it to the Super Bowl that year. There was really no hope, and then the Eagles won it. So the interesting part is, so anyway, so I would say my research real quick, is basically doing two things. One, watching the preseason of my podcast, Strong Opinion Sports, just on the teams. So one, I listened to one on the 49ers and then one on the Chiefs when we get, but like I said, we're talking about the 49ers. And two, I watched all the recaps of the Year in Name Trees videos of this week in sports, just on 49ers alone right now. So, like I said, they made it to the Super Bowl. They got those 9s. And also, I also recapped I watched all our games just to get all our numbers correct. So, when Strong Opinion Sports, he talked about them, he was very nervous. A lot of interesting, a lot of the sports media at the time, I felt like was a little bit worried because it's like this Brock Purdy guy. They're trading everything away for Brock Purdy, who got hurt last season. I don't know if it was a torn ACL, if I remember correctly. It was something that was serious, that he was out for 6 months, right?
Yeah, no, something like he got hit and like it was something in his elbow.
Yeah, it was something. It wasn't like a 2 weeks and he was going to be out. I think it was like months, like recovery. Yeah. And like I said, they traded away Trey Lance to the Cowboys for a 4th-round pick. And there was a little bit like a nervous, and there's a lot, and like Devios and the Bosa. Was it Nick Bosa, right? Was it like contract? Yeah, Nick Bosa was in a contract dispute. So there was a lot of nervousness on the 49ers. Like, is this team going to be legit? Is this team going to be really good? I don't know. We have no idea what's going to happen right now. I think this team could be good. I think they could have the pieces, but what happens if Brock Purdy gets hurt? What happens if all this bad things happens? So, interestingly enough, Strong Opinion Sports gave him a record of 9 wins and 7 losses. Interestingly enough. And then, like I said, Your Name Tree talks about all the things, talks about trading away Trey Lance, talking about the frustrating, like, because like people are very frustrated because they put a lot of draft capital off of Trey Lance. They paid a lot for this one. And I will say this, I think even if they do lose the Super Bowl, this might be costly for the 49ers.
I mean, those bad trades catch up to you. I mean, they're going to eventually pay a fee for that terrible trade.
Yeah. So even if they do win the Super Bowl, even though they might lose the Super Bowl, they could be in a Rams situation right now. But like I said, we'll talk about that when we get to 2024 season right there. Also, the contract dispute holdout, I should say, of Nick Bosa. Sam Darnold is going to be the backup? Huh? Is this guy going to be good? We got Sam Darnold as the backup?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if this guy's going to be great. And we're so worried about what's going to happen to Brock Purdy. And interestingly enough, Your Name Tree gave the 49ers the wild card spot. He actually picked the Seahawks to win the division. Interestingly enough.
Yeah.
Yes. And and also I should ask this, Douglas, for preseason, what do you think we gave the 49ers? I mean, I guess you already see it.
So I think I can take a guess at this one.
Yes, it starts with an Evan and maybe rhymes with heaven. It's a 7. Yeah, we both gave him a 7, and I think probably the reason why we both gave him the 7, Douglas and I, because we don't know how Brock Purdy's going to be in the regular season. He has not played a full starter in the regular season.
Yeah, they made they did a couple of risky things for sure.
Yeah, they definitely risked it for the
biscuit.
Should you say the Purdy biscuit?
The Purdy biscuit.
Yes, they risked it for the Purdy biscuit. So
yeah,
I think and I will say, I think for all the, it did work out. I mean, granted, we'll see how it goes if they do win the Super Bowl and all the draft picks. But I feel like, in hindsight, I think they made the right choice and all that stuff. I mean, granted, it's like I'm probably being one of those results-oriented But I feel like all the other teams that made the other risk, maybe I would say the Jets one, I was like, okay, I don't know, but maybe that was an okay risk. But like the other teams that like made it far, I would say like the Raiders or the Saints, I was like not impressed with their risk. Honestly, I thought their team was there. But like I said, I digress. We're talking about the 49ers. Why? They made it to Super Bowl 58.
Mhm.
So we're going to talk about the first week, week 1. And we got to talk about the good news. Nick Bosa just got a 5-year, $170 million extension, guaranteed cap.
Hell yeah.
Good for you. You got Nick Bosa on there. That's at least good. But this might be the bad news when we get to the next season. Their cap might be bad. I think honestly, and I will say this, and maybe we'll talk about like maybe the cons about what's going to happen. This is all in for the San Francisco 49ers versus I feel like when we talk about the Chiefs, they're not in a bad financial spot. I feel like they're doing a lot more like the Patriots, where it's like, hey, we'll cut this corner right here, but we'll still be good. You know what I mean? We're like doing that cut corners like business deals. Whereas like the 49ers have gone into the, all right, this is our all-in chip. We got a good hand right now. We got double queen. We got double kings right now in poker terms. We're going all in.
But shout out to a team like the Rams. Because like we thought they went all in. I mean, they did go all in 2-3 years ago, won their Super Bowl, and now they're good again. Very impressive.
Yeah, they
So-
honestly, I thought their season was done. And
Yeah.
honestly, that's why when we're going to talk about the Chiefs, like I said, I know we should talk about the 49ers. But when we're talking about the Chiefs, that's probably the one thing I'm going to be impressed about. Like, honestly, is that they keep the dynasty, even though I'm annoyed that the Chiefs are doing good. They're doing, they're a dynasty for a reason. You know what I mean? There's a few teams that can get that dynasty like spot. And maybe the Chiefs might do it. We'll see how it goes. But
I mean, and I think even if the Chiefs lose, I mean, I think there should already be a dynasty. But no, we're not talking about the Chiefs. 49ers.
like I said, we're talking about why the 49ers made it to the Super Bowl. Like I said, that's gonna be next Tuesday. That's gonna be next Thursday when we're talking about why the Kansas City Chiefs made it to the Super Bowl again.
Mhm.
That should be. I will tell you that should be the thumbnail. Why the Chiefs? But anyway, I digress. They're gonna play against the Steelers, who, like I said, the Steelers, they're that mid team that's not good but not bad. But the 49ers dominate against the Steelers.
Mhm.
They play amazing against the Steelers. They stopped the Steelers' offense and defense. There's one point in the first half, Douglas, that the Steelers only got 1 rushing yard. The whole game.
Not surprised.
Yeah,
Big Bosa with his big money showed up to play.
yeah. And they just dominate. And I think the crazy part, I believe this is at Steelers Stadium. So that's showing a statement right here. It's like, all those naysayers. And honestly, I think even probably us and Douglas, when we talk about this game, like they win this game 30-7. They dominate. This is, I like to call a domination game. Not even close.
Yeah.
Not even a great game, to be honest with you. And we should ask, what do you think, Douglas, would we give the Steelers? Not the Steelers, the 49ers, week 1. What do you think? What would you think?
I mean, I would say probably a 7 or an 8. I'm kind of torn.
Yeah, we both gave him an 8, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. To be honest, we did not give a lot of 9s in this one. And it's kind of crazy to think about that. But like I said,
No,
week
9s
1
are really hard to come by this year.
yeah, like I said, they got 1 win right here, and they did well. Week 2, they got to play against their NFC North Division, not North, West Division, right? They're the NFC West, right?
They are, yeah. They are.
Yeah, they have to be the West because it's like I know the East, the North, and the South. They got to play against the Rammies. They played the game better so far. Brock Purdy got 2 touchdowns and 220 yards. And even though it's sort of a close game, but I think it's more like, hey, the Rams look a lot better than what we're expecting. I thought this team was going to be really bad. They beat them like 30-23 right now. They're pretty dominant in this game. Like I said, not as dominant as sort of last week, but you know what? That's still a good decisive win.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
Both me and Douglas gave them an 8 again. So as of right now, the 49ers are now 2-0 right now. We're definitely feeling very confident, honestly. Maybe like I don't think we're thinking that they're going to be that god tier elite status. They're going to win the Super Bowl, but I think we're very confident so far with this team.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get to week 3. They got to play against the Giants. Whoa, my goodness. The best team in the NFL, the New York Giants.
Oh, I love the Giants.
Oh, my God. The Giants did do better than what people thought. Because, like I said, they got, like, butt whooped by the Cowboys. I remember week 1. Wasn't even a fun – I mean, as a Cowboys fan, it was a fun game. But if everybody else in the country, this was an awful game.
Yes.
Like, Trent Williams had a good game as a Giants player, but unfortunately, he couldn't perform. And Brock Purdy got 2 touchdowns, 310 yards right now.
Hell yeah.
And interestingly, the 49ers won 30-12 in this game. Surprisingly, even though that the Giants did a lot better, but granted, this is probably still good. It's like so far, they've been doing really well. And we got to talk about the multi-year contract of John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan.
Nice.
Both got paid. So that's like at least like, all right, you're in a good spot right now. You're the 49ers right now. Granted, I don't know how we're going to be for next year, but you got to keep your players right now.
Hell yeah.
Now they're undefeated right now. They're 3-0 right now. They're doing great. We're going to talk about week 4, number 4. They're playing against another dominant team, the Arizona Cardinals.
Hell yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on the Cardinals playing against the 49ers so far?
Not against the 49ers. I'll just always remember the day they beat the Cowboys. What a great game.
That was the week after they beat the Cowboys. That was week 3. But anyway.
First indication the Cowboys are frauds.
How dare you? We're not talking about the Cowboys that make the Super Bowl.
Sorry. It's so easy to do.
Is that going to be your trigger? You're going to try to do that as your April Fools of why the Cowboys never made it to the Super Bowl?
Something like that. Once I get over making it,
and you're just going to have me like be triggered the whole time. You're going to have to. Like I said, Douglas, if you want to Clockwork Orange torture me right now, just you have my eyes open. I can't shut them. You're just gonna have me on the couch sitting there. You're just gonna be like, here's some great YouTube clips on the Cowboys choking or the Cowboys highlight reel, or just put on the Cowboys Packers game the whole time.
I was gonna say we can rewatch. What was it, 48-32?
Yes, we don't want to talk about that. But anyway, we're talking about the 49ers made it to the Super Bowl right now.
Let's go.
They're dominant against the Cardinals, which is not that surprising. Christian McCaffrey scored the most touchdowns, 3 touchdowns with 106 yards. Man, if you had him on fantasy, you made some bank.
Heck yeah.
And also, funny enough, so far, me and Douglas have given them an 8, like I said. And so far, we are pretty much almost in the third of the games. And look at that. They had only, if you think about it in hindsight, they had 2 really bad teams that they played against and 2 like okay teams, to be honest with you. Not elite teams. But then we got to talk about the Cowboys. Oh boy. This is their first test. Honestly, this is their first test. Is this team elite or is this team going to be okay? What's your thoughts when you got to this game right now, Douglas? Week 5.
Like this is where I think this is where I told you that I was going to give you a ton of credit for the Cowboys, because I remember you were like hyping up the Cowboys. You're like saying that they were going to prove that they were the best team in the league. I was like, Stuart, I'll tell you what, if they win in San Francisco, Cause like I saw how dominant they were. I'm like, I will give you all the props in the world. The Cowboys are back, Super Bowl favorites. And then I just remember Stephen A laughing when they got just obliterated.
It was
Right.
it was a terrible game, Douglas. It was
Like this is a straight flex right here.
yes, they flexed on the Cowboys. They dominate against them boys. They were, and the Cowboys are a good team, to be fair. They're good. But the 49ers were dominant. They were elite right now. Elite. They were hitting a whole nother level right now. Brock Purdy got 4 touchdowns and 252 yards. That dude was a stud. They scored 42-10 against the boys. And I died on the inside after that game. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, that's embarrassing. Yeah, got no other way to say it. Good job,
Yeah,
49.
But like I said, this is the first time we gave out 9s, Douglas. And you know what we gave a 9 to?
Not the Cowboys.
Not the Cowboys. No, I wish you could have given them a 10.
This team right here, 49ers.
This team right here that made it to the 4. Yeah, because we were both like really impressed. Like honestly, I think at this point we were kind of thinking this might be the 49ers' chance of winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe we thought we were right. But we got to talk about these 3 bad weeks. They had 3 bad weeks losses right now. Not the greatest. We'll talk about them playing against the Brownies with their first loss. Like I said, Deshaun Watson got hurt for the Browns. So PJ Walker, you remember him, Douglas?
Remember the name.
Remember the name? He became the Browns starter to play.
Man.
They got a bunch of bad injuries this week. Deebo Samuel, hurt. Trent Williamson, hurt. Christian McCaffrey, out in this game. Brock Purdy did not have a good game. He was under pressure. They had some penalties that hurt the 49ers. It was a close game. But at the end, a missed field goal at the end cost them their first loss.
Man.
And maybe if we talk about like maybe the weaknesses of Brock Purdy, the toughness about Brock Purdy, like maybe if the Chiefs could beat it, he is not good under pressure. He's not in this season.
True that.
Like honestly, if you give Brock Purdy some time, he's going to do well. This probably is the week when we can kind of show like, you know what? I don't know if I want to have this team not going to be good.
If you don't have Deebo and Christian McCaffrey, it's hard to be good.
It is
Those are 2
hard
of the best playmakers in the game.
Yeah, it's hard to be good. But like I said, me and Douglas, after this loss, they lost 17-19. I think it wasn't in Brownies. No, it wasn't Brownie Stadium, right? That was in Cleveland.
I think so.
Yes. We both gave them the 8 because it's like, okay, it's their first loss. They had some injuries. We'll see how it goes from there. Now we're having another loss.
They're piling up.
They're playing against the Vikings this week. They did not have a good game. The offense played bad. Brock Purdy had 2 turnovers in this game. This is the second week they're not looking good. This is like, all right, we're a little bit nervous with the 49ers right now. Like, oh my God, panic button. Like I said, 1 week was like a fluke. Oh no, this is not looking good. Kirk Cousins had a great game. The game was close. He had 2 interceptions. And also, interestingly enough, Brock Purdy had an interception right at the end of the game to not let them win the game if they could have came back. Another problem, like I said, the same problem was last week. Brock Purdy is not good under pressure. He is not. He's not good when it's like the clock is ticking. He needs to win this game. He's not so far in these losses. Close. But at Viking Stadium, they lose 17-22. We're kind of being low on this one, Douglas. We gave him 7. Are we?
You know,
And I think at this point, I was like, are they having the same expectations as we're thinking about the 49ers right now?
lots of questions.
Lots of questions right now. Now week 8. The 49ers got to play against the Bengals. 49, interestingly enough, they got also for a 3rd round pick, they got Chase Young right now. They traded away their players to get Chase Young, who is from, I believe, was it the Bears?
Where'd
I think
they
it was
get him
Chicago.
from?
Chase Young?
No, I think he was
No,
on the
he was
Commanders.
Washington. He was the Commanders, yeah. And they didn't do anything with Chase Young. Because I remember he was a great player for Ohio State.
hmm
Really didn't do anything with Washington, to be honest with you. So they got a great upgrade on this one. I think honestly, probably these first 2 losses, they were like, hey, we need to get some players. Bengals
Mhm.
playing a great game. 49ers. Nope. Brock Purdy still has the hard time with turnovers again. Not good under pressure. Also,
Mhm.
Brock Purdy is in concussion protocol, but was cleared, and maybe he should have probably sat out of this game. But also, this is really bad. They had their 3rd straight loss again. This is not even a close game, Douglas. This is 17-31 right now.
Yeah.
Though, I guess the good news is Christian McCaffrey got the NFL record with the 13, actually tied the NFL record with 17 straight games with a touchdown. Does that count?
Yay.
Does that count?
CMC.
CMC. But unfortunately, after this week, this is the 3rd week of loss. We got to give him the 6. This is and interestingly enough, we get to week 10 right now. This is the lowest we're ever going to give the 49ers right now. The whole season. This is probably the low point of being a 49ers fan after this season. So I guess, Douglas, what was your thoughts when you got to week 10? I mean, once the return of everybody else, like Deebo Samuel.
Well, so I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't following their season super closely, at least in terms of like injuries, because I didn't know Debo was out that whole time until like recently. I was kind of looking into their season more, but it makes a lot of sense because like they were talking in the game leading up to them playing the Lions about how Debo doesn't play like they really don't like the 49ers. But I mean, it made sense. But at the time, super nervous, you know? You get blown out by the Bengals and Joey Burrow, and you're scared. You're definitely scared. That Cowboys win feels like a faint memory almost.
Yeah, honestly, it's a faint memory, and I think we might have given the Cowboys a higher rating than the 49ers, if I remember correctly. Because I think at least, if I remember the season, they
Cowboys
were
are
like,
blowing out bad teams.
yeah, they're blowing out bad teams, and like I said, we're not talking about. Sadly, we're not talking about what the Cowboys made in the Super Bowl, Douglas. We're talking about why the 49ers came back, and so we're on to week 10. 49ers are playing against the Jaguars. Deebo Samuel is about to return. And I feel like this is a game changer for the offense. I think after having a bye week in week 9, they're coming back. They click. And from here on, except for that one game against the Ravens, they just click at this point. They dominate against the Jaguars. They look great. Brock Purdy got 3 touchdowns and 296 yards that day. They show that this is why you don't count the 49ers out. We might have been injured. We might have looked bad in those 3 games. Don't count us out.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, we're about to get the victory.
Boom. Let's
Boom.
go.
They dominate this game 34-3. And I believe this might be the most they gotten in a point. The most scored without the if I'm looking at it right there. Yeah. This is probably, if I'm looking at it right now, yeah, this is probably the most right now.
What points that they won by in a single game?
Yeah.
Well, Stu, that's only 31. How many did they beat the Cowboys by? 32.
32. Ah!
The Cowboys had the worst L of the year. Let's not
No!
bring back the Cowboy hate. Bring
At least-
back the Cowboy hate. Bring back the Cowboy hate.
Oh, or maybe I should just say, to be fair, this is the most that the 49ers have given up a point in a football game by 3.
Okay.
To be
Fair
fair.
enough.
To be fair. But like I said, those were bad games. But interestingly enough, me and Douglas, we were back up. We were like, wait a minute. We should give this team a 7. I think this team looking like good. This looks like the old 49ers. I don't know if this is just a fluke game. Is the Jaguars bad? Or are we looking good right now?
Yeah.
But anyway, week 11, they're playing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And oh boy, we were making fun of the Buccaneers because we thought this NFC team South was garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Brock Purdy has a great game against them. Both offense and defense is great. Brock Purdy makes 333 yards and 3 touchdowns. Did have an interception in the game, but that's okay. But we digress. They had a great game. And then the 49ers score, win 27-14 in this game. They're looking good. Me and Douglas, we decided to raise it up, raise that stock price right now. That stock is going up. We gave them a good 8 right now.
Yeah. This is where we're starting to feel that those 3 other games are fluky.
Yeah, we really do feel like those 3 other games are fluky. And I think, honestly, looking up this right here, like why they made it to the Super Bowl right now, it honestly just shows, okay, they were just hurt and that's it. It wasn't like they played bad. They just got.
That's what's crazy though. Like just hearing you recount them is like they were a missed field goal away from beating like the Browns, like one drive away from beating the who was that one? The Vikings. So it's like it's not like they were getting blown out other than against the Bengals. So it's like, you're missing 2 of your best players. You get a little bit of a pass.
Yeah, and at least they were close. Like, look at that; they were like close in those games. It wasn't like they were getting blown out or look really bad or like, oh my god, like they just completely collapse like some other teams. Jets. Sorry, I'm sorry. I had a bad hiccup for some reason. I don't know why. I mean, every time when I hear the JETX, I have a bad cough for some reason. Maybe it's the allergies. I'm just saying.
You're allergic to bad football.
I'm allergic to bad football right there. But like I said, me and Douglas, we were like, we're raising that roof, gave him the 8. Now we're into week 12. The 49ers are playing against the Seattle Seahawks, the team that we thought in week 1 was going to win the division. But sadly, no. The 49ers has a great game against the Seahawks. The first half, amazingly, they have time of possession, Douglas, 20 minutes and 1 second in the ball.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
It's dominant, no doubt.
That's dominance right there. They just dominate against the Seahawks. They literally just show we're the better team. Look at this. So, hey, Douglas, remember when we thought they were going to make the wild card? No, it's the 49ers. It ain't the Seahawks right now. Brock Purdy,
no doubt.
209 yards with 1 touchdown. Christian McCaffrey right over here gets 2 touchdowns in this game. They just shut down the Seahawks. It is 31-13, and me and Douglas were giving them the 8. We were kind of thinking, man, should we give them the 9? We're like, no. No, Douglas. You are telling me this. Wait till next week, and then we'll see who deserves that 9. Then we got to week 13. The 49ers are playing against the Philadelphia Eagles. This is an interesting game for both teams, if you think about it, Douglas. Because you know the last time both of these teams played against each other?
The NFC Championship last year.
Yes. And a lot of people, I think a lot of Eagles fans, Eagles players, were saying, we would have still made it to the Super Bowl, even if you guys were not hurt. And I know a lot of those 49ers players were like, we would have beaten you guys.
You know, I know at the time too, I think the Eagles were, or not, yeah, the Eagles were like, what, 10-1 or something? Or they had a
Yeah.
crazy start to the year. I know the Eagles were going to just kind of figure it out.
Yeah. And to be fair, at this time, if I remember correctly, I was like, all right, and granted, I do have an Eagles hate bias. But I kind of was like a little bit like, I was a little bit concerned with the Eagles because they weren't really dominating against these bad teams. Where I felt like, and if you're looking at the score right here, and like all these games right there, we're down to week 13. The 49ers were dominating against these teams right there. They're dominating most of the games. And the only games that they lost to were close games. There was never like a second like touchdown where I had to win this game in the end. You know what I mean? And even with this Philadelphia game, they were like, you know what? We would have dominated this game. And they showed they were this season. They just dominate. First half, second half, just dominate. Brock Purdy got 314 yards, 4 touchdowns in this game. That is crazy for a quarterback to get 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, especially for what we thought was going to be a good Eagles defense.
Yeah, and especially they made that Eagles defense look bad, especially at Philly. They just dominate away in this game. This game shows that I think honestly, this is probably the game. I would say week 13. I think you and me were kind of like, all right, 49ers. This team might go to the Super Bowl. This looks like a domination.
Well, yeah, I think
this
you had mentioned earlier that I had said like wait till next week because that was the other half of the next week was whoever wins between the Eagles and 49ers is the 9.
Yeah. Yeah. And we both gave them the 8. And we were like, you know what? We got to give the 49ers the 9. I think this team looks really good. And interestingly enough, they get the number 1 seed right here. And I believe after week 13, I think they clinch the division at this point. It's either this week or actually next week they're going to clinch the division. But this is the week where it's like, I don't know if this is going to be number 1, if this team's number 1. After this week, they're number 1. And honestly, after this, the NFC shows that if you want to make it to the Super Bowl, you got to beat the 49ers. You have to.
Yeah, no, I mean, this was a statement game for sure.
Yeah. This is a statement game for them to win this one. Now, they're going week 14. The 49ers got to play against the Seattle Seahawks right now. And they're going to have a great game. Brock Purdy, both offense and defense looks amazing. Brock Purdy gets 2 touchdowns and 368 yards. You know, not as dominant as sort of the last game, but they at least look good. And at this point, they have now clinched the division right now. At this point, they have gotten that division. They are now officially punched that ticket. Do you see a ticket? You know, do you have a ticket, Douglas?
There you go.
Yeah, because guess what? 49ers just made it to the playoffs right now. And we both gave them the 9, just like we did last week and the week before.
Heck yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Next week, they got to play against the Cardinals. You know, granted, Kyler Murray is going to be back with the Cardinals, but let's be honest. does Kyler Murray have a shot in week 15
Mhm.
against the 49ers, who's been absolutely freaking dominating?
I don't know, maybe.
Maybe. No. They
No.
decided, nope, nope. Even in Cardinal Stadium, they were like, nope. They were dominating this game in offense. They were dominating this game in defense. Hell, this stadium was dominated with 49ers fans in this game.
Dude, obviously, as somebody that lives in Glendale, there are a ton of 49ers fans here.
Why are there more 49ers fans? It's so weird.
I don't know, but there's like a ton. Like all my coworkers are 49ers or Raiders fans. A lot of
That's
them
so
came from the Bay Area.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can understand because it's like cheaper to live, but that's like sort of weird. I don't know. I mean, granted, I'm a Cowboys fan and I live in Michigan, but that's a different story. You don't see a lot of Cowboys fans in Michigan. Just saying.
No, you don't.
But Brock Purdy gets 202 yards, 2 touchdowns. 49ers are looking dominant, looking great right now. And we both decided to still give them. Do you see that number right there at the end with the last week's ranking and new week's ranking? You know, can you see that, Douglas? What did we
Good
give?
old Nineski.
Get all 9. We were thinking this team was going to the Super Bowl. This is always
Okay.
my. But now we're in the week 16.
Whoa.
Got a hiccup right now, Douglas. We're a little bit nervous if you're a 49ers fan because I got to play against the Baltimore Ravens at Raven Stadium.
I
No,
do
actually,
remember that one.
I believe this was in. No, wait. This was at 49er Stadium. This was not in Baltimore.
Oh yeah. No, this is where I know we had bet with Alex that the Niners would win, and he was like, "No, this is where the Ravens show that they're the best team in the league."
And they showed them. The Ravens dominate this game. This is probably the one game where it's like we hit that break where, wait a minute. The Ravens look legit. The 49ers have a huge weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Under pressure, Brock Purdy got 4 interceptions in this game. They don't look good. The offense doesn't look good. The defense doesn't look good. They gave up so many points. They lost this game 33-19. This is probably the first. Granted, they didn't get blown out, but it's not good. It's not good. But to be fair, Douglas, you know, we still gave the 49ers a 9 because I think we both thought, hey, they got blown out, but they're not going to play against the Ravens in the postseason unless they make it to the Super Bowl.
And that's what a 9 represents.
Yeah. Like, I don't think that's going to be, that shows anything bad. But like I said, now we've got the 49ers. They're playing against the Washington Commanders, or I like to call it the Washington Commies. Where the Commanders are done in the playoffs. This is pretty much, they're done. But the 49ers look good. Brock Purdy scores 2 touchdowns in this game. He looks great. It's 20. They beat the game. They beat the Commanders 27-10. And then at this point, they clinch the number 1 seed. They get the bye week. They don't have to do anything. This is easy mode. They are in cruise control. It's time to hit the first gear. You know what? They're doing the Detroit lean right back here because I'm a 49ers and I don't have to do anything right now. I don't. Because I got the number 1 spot. Which is amazing to think. I don't think we thought that they were going to get the number 1 spot. I think we both thought preseason the Eagles were going to get the number 1 spot, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I mean, it looked like it for a while. Then the Eagles just fell apart.
Yeah, they fell apart. And that's why we're talking about the 49ers making the Super Bowl and not why Philly didn't make a Super Bowl.
Exactly.
But anyway, we both gave them the 9. We were like, all right, they're at least going to make it to the Super Bowl. Week 18, the 49ers play against the Rammies. Brock Purdy
Yeah.
and most of the starters don't play this game because it's like it's a bye week. Who cares? We're already done. We can sit out. So Sam Darnold is going to be the QB right now. Most of the
Mhm.
starters sitting out. It doesn't really matter. Ravens have a good game and they win. And I think even the Rams didn't Stafford sit out also in this game, I think.
The Ram. I don't think so. Because I
Oh
think it
no,
matters for
I
seeding.
think they did play, yeah. So, but you know what? They lost this game even on the B squad. They lost like 21-20.
Yeah.
Like that's still impressive.
No,
You
they
can't
put up
hate
a
on
good
that.
game.
It's a good game. You can't hate on that. And
Mhm.
they end this season with a 12-5 record. And both me and Douglas gave them a 9. So to recap the regular season, we didn't think they were going to be good. They did really well. A lot of these games they've been pretty dominant. And the games they really lost to, besides like the Bengals and the Ravens, have all been like close games. But all the games they really won so far with the 49ers right now has just been like really just dominant. That is probably
Yeah.
one word I would say with the 49ers this regular season. It's just domination.
Yeah. Key word being during the regular season too.
Yeah. It is the regular season. But like I said, if I would describe the regular season, it's just domination for most of these games.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
now we're in the postseason where the
Mhm.
49ers don't have to do the wild card. They get to take a nap. Hey, I'm gonna go sleep right now. Don't have to do anything because you know why? I got the number 1 seed, baby. I don't have to try. I don't really care.
Mhm.
But now, interestingly enough, we both still gave them the 9 because it's like, hey, we felt like they were still good. So it doesn't really matter. Now we're in the division week. Interestingly
Mhm.
enough, this is when we either pick our NFL teams. Who's going to make it? Who's going to win these playoff games each week? It was basically of me and Douglas's idea. We both picked the 49ers to win this game. They got to play against the Green Bay Packers, who dominated against the Cowboys for the first half and the second half,
Mhm.
except for the last minutes.
Mhm.
But it's interesting because these two games, when we talk about the postseason, 49ers did not have a great game. The Packers had the lead the most times.
Yeah.
And honestly, in this game, it's mostly to be frank, it's more like the Green Bay Packers lost this game than why the 49ers won this game, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. Like literally, granted, they did get a last minute touchdown at one. The craziest part, Douglas, in this game, like the most of the time, they did not get the final lead until 1 minute and 7 seconds in the game.
Yeah.
Like, and also, I will say, I think also helped them was a 4th and 1 stop to help the 49ers win. So their defense helped them out. Brock Purdy finally got a good bailout towards the end and finally got a touchdown, which he could not do against those last 2 games. Chris McCaffrey gets 2 touchdowns in this game, and the 49ers win 24-21 to win this game. And now, sorry, Douglas, got to talk about your conference championship.
Yeah.
Even though Douglas was a huge Lions fan, me and
Mhm.
Douglas both gave the 49ers to win.
Yeah.
49ers did not have a great game in the first half. They looked like garbage. They looked awful. They were behind 24-7, 17 points. And I was just thinking, right when I was at my buddy's place watching this game at a bar, I should say, mind you, man, I guess I'm going to have to do why the Lions made it to the Super Bowl this year. Well, I guess all this is going to be it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. We're going to talk about how the Lions and all this stuff. But second half, different story. Where Christian McCaffrey is getting 2 touchdowns. And Dan Campbell decided, no, we are not kicking field goals. We're going for it on 4th downs twice.
Yeah. Me and my coworker, we talked. So he kicked a field goal at the end of the half. And we were both like, that's the one that he should have went for instead. But then, yeah, like he kind of just, I don't know, just a little bit too gutsy. But after lots of reflection, I'm kind of like, that was our identity all year. We knew it's one of those like kind of double-edged swords. And, at the time, I even at the time when they didn't kick the first field goal in real time, I was like, please kick the field goal. Like I literally like almost put that in a group chat. 'Cause I was like, and that's the only challenge that I have is like they should have adapted their style a little bit. Because if you kick a field goal in that first one, you're still up 17 points.
Yes.
But then all of a sudden you have 2 fluky plays in a row, that Brandon Ayuk catch and the fumble by Jahmyr Gibbs, and it's a tied game. In about 3-minute swing, you go from possibly up 17 to tied. And you can't predict the fumble though. So, like hindsight's 2020, and we kind of knew that the aggression can backfire.
Yeah.
But
and like I
it's
said, I think we'll give credit. And I think also we're going to give credit to the 49ers. The defense stopped them twice on 4th down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not true. That's a true statement right there. They dominated and stopped them when it had to do it. Like I said, and it's kind of more, maybe it might be a little bit of combination of both. Maybe it was kind of bad plays on Detroit and more of like the 49ers exploited those bad choices. But like I said,
I mean, anytime you have a big comeback, there's going to be some luck and skill involved. Like there was definitely a little bit of both.
Yeah.
That Brandon Ayuk catch, like one thing that did frustrate me is like I thought Brandon Ayuk got away with 2 offensive pass interferences that were both pretty frustrating. Because like 2 times Lions players could have had interceptions, but he shoved them before the ball got there. But like there's always going to be some luck, but like you'd like to see at least one of those called. Like I get it's not a popular call, but like you can't tackle the defender just like he can't tackle you.
Yeah.
So that was a bummer too, because that Brandon Ayuk catch, that was huge.
Yeah, I think that Brandon Ayuk catch was probably the dagger that hurt the Lions' heart. That is going to be that is your Clockwork Orange torture moment. Just the Brandon Ayuk catch.
See, but at the time, the catch didn't feel that bad. That's what's weird. Like at the moment, that catch was like it was pretty cool, but it wasn't like a dagger per se. Because the more, at least my opinion at the time, was like, oh, that was weird, but we still have the lead. It'll be okay.
No.
But that fumble by Gibbs is one I was like, oh no, here we go.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's probably, and like I said, when we're getting close to we get close to like 49ers stopped them both times. Lions did not have. Also, the Lions gave up the running game in the second half, which I still don't understand. And I know when we're going to talk about the eulogy on the Detroit Lions, why did we stop the running game when you were like, like I felt like maybe both of these games, I kind of felt like for the Packers and the Lions, they had a decent lead, but then they were like, all right, we're going to go on cruise control. I don't have to like hit the accelerator button. I know we're going to win this game.
See, but I don't know that's true because I don't think the Lions go for it on a 4th down if they're in cruise control.
Yeah, but there was like, I guess I should say, maybe the cruise control in the run game. How about that?
I mean, I guess I feel like what you're saying feels backwards to me.
Okay,
so like
maybe they went for it too many times when they was like that, but I felt like there were some plays that, okay, how about that? There's some plays I feel like they went way too far into the accelerator button, and I feel like they didn't do. Yeah, and other ways
they should have adapted their coaching to the situation.
Yeah. So, and like I said, the 49ers come back and get the W. 24-31. And they made it to Super Bowl 58.
Good season.
It's been a great season for the 49ers. And it's interesting because we talk about these 2 playoff games. I feel like both of these games that the 49ers won was more of the other team blew it, per se.
Well, yeah. And that's what makes me nervous is like I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, I see the 49ers are favorites, but like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm thinking the Chiefs should be favored. Like, one of these teams has the number one rated defense in the league in Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
You know, you got the better defense and the better quarterback. Like, that typically wins in big games.
Yeah. That's why I'm a little bit nervous about this 49er. Like, the one thing, and I will say maybe my con on the 49ers when we talk about this, Brock Purdy is not good under pressure.
Yeah.
He's not good at trying to come. Granted, he had 2 games he did come back to. But granted, and he did have one game where he was like down the clock and was down, and he did come back against the Packers. But the Lions, it was more like he got more like the offensive line like helped him and got him like time to like do those dime bombs catches.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, Brock Purdy is very similar to Jared Goff, where it's like, you know, you give him weapons and you give him a good offensive line, but it's like a lot of quarterbacks can be successful there. But and I think that's what makes Mahomes so special. On the other side is watching like him and Lamar Jackson play. Like, you don't need a good offensive line. Like, obviously it's helpful. Like, it is so frustrating to watch Mahomes because like he just like makes everybody miss. Like, nobody can sack him, nobody can take him down, and then he's also making ridiculous throws. Like, I
Yeah.
don't really know what you do. Like, you can play great defense, but I think they showed a play last week. Was it him where it took him like 10, 12 seconds to throw?
Yeah.
You know, like, that's just an insane amount of time that he was able to hold the ball.
Yeah. That's an insane amount of time. And just to think about it and get under pressure, like I said, like that's the one thing I will say that I am so impressed with the 49ers is they got a good offensive line. Like I said, 12 seconds, that's impressive for that offensive line.
Yeah, I do think the 49ers have one of the better units in the league. And I
Yeah.
mean, it obviously helps when you they probably have the best collection of skill players too. I mean, you know, you got Kittle, Debo, McCaffrey, Ayuk.
Mhm.
That's like, I don't care how good of a defense you are, you're not going to stop 4 elite playmakers consistently.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like, for me, it's like for the Chiefs, it's like you got Patrick Mahomes, you got Andy Reid as the head coach. And I feel like it's like, all right. And you got like Travis Kelce. You got those. So those are the 3 reasons why. And they can adapt now to the defense. The 49ers, I feel like it's mostly not maybe just Brock Purdy, but I feel like it's the weapons around him that's made this team so much dominant and why they made it to the Super Bowl, in my opinion.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, we obviously were talking earlier about when they didn't have McCaffrey or Debo, they were a significantly worse team.
Yeah.
Well, that's what scares me though about these Chiefs at the same time is, you know, you get rid of Tyreek Hill. Travis Kelce has a down year. They don't have any reliable receivers, but then the playoffs come and they just turn a page. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable, you know? And like, that's just what elite level coaching will get you. Where
Mhm.
like when the stage was the biggest, the Chiefs showed up and dominated. Where I would argue for the 49ers, it was the opposite. Where like the stage got bigger. You might not necessarily like this comparison, but in some ways, Ohio State kind of compares to the 49ers to me, where it's
No.
like, well, it's like they're dominant all year, but then they play a team that can like match their physicality and hit them around a little bit, and they kind of crumble.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's like you would have liked to see them dominate in the playoffs too, where it's
Yeah.
like to see the Chiefs just shut down the Ravens like that was unbelievable. We're
Yeah.
like the 49ers, I'm like, I can't believe you're here. Like, you should have lost to 2 NFC North teams and you snuck by.
Yeah, honestly, it's mostly, and I will always say it, and I agree, and I know I'm repeating myself again, but I feel like the postseason would say it's more of the why, it's not more of why the 49ers won this game. It's like why the Packers and the Lions lost this game. Why they had a chance, but they fumbled the ball at the end.
Well, yeah, and the Chiefs are way too good to do that against. So we'll see what they do, though.
Yeah. Now this is gonna be an interesting question, and I guess let's just say it.
Mm-hmm.
Can Brock Purdy? There's been 2 quarterbacks I would say in post 95. for the 49ers that made it to the
Mhm.
Super Bowl. One was Kaepernick, one was Garoppolo. Both couldn't get that Lombardi. They couldn't
Mhm.
do it. Can Brock Purdy finally get the 49ers what the other two quarterbacks couldn't do?
I mean, he definitely can. Like, will he? I don't know yet, but like, obviously we won't know till Sunday. But my goodness, he's got as good of a chance as anybody. Like, because I feel like going into that last Super Bowl, obviously you have Jim Harbaugh coaching and whatnot, but like, I don't remember that well. But like, I don't remember feeling like the 49ers were by any means favorites.
Mhm.
But like this one, we've been talking about how good the 49ers are for so long that I'm just kind of like, this should be their year. And like all year I've been down on the Chiefs. Like this is the first time that I'm thinking that the Chiefs, I would pick them all postseason.
Mhm.
And that feels weird to say, but I'm like, I'm convinced. Like I was like hesitant on like the Mahomes debate, and now I'm like fully changing my mind to like, all right, this dude is 110% like in the GOAT conversation right now.
Yeah. And I feel like, and I kind of do agree, and maybe this might have been like maybe the issue that Brady had. But I feel like Brock Purdy, and I've always been repeating it over and over again, and I agree with like Richard Sherman in his podcast. If Brock Purdy would have been the number one in like the San Francisco, like in the draft class and not picked Mr. Irrelevant dead last, I think
Mhm.
if he was picked like Trey Lance was,
Yeah.
Trey Lance should have been. And has like this elite like season, I think people would be like, my God, this Purdy is like elite. I feel like a lot of people have always been down on Purdy because it's like you were picked last for a reason.
Well, so I mean, the thing is, so like like I said, I got a lot of coworkers that are huge 49ers fans, but like a lot of them still aren't convinced of Brock Purdy at this moment. And like, I'm not gonna lie, I get it. I get the criticism because other than the Cowboys, I mean, I guess he had like some big games, but it's like I'd be lying if I said that Ravens game doesn't live in my head.
Yeah.
Like just 4 interceptions, like at home, like that was kind of his chance to show, like, hey, I can handle a good defense, and he crumbled.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like that's kind of scary that he did so bad against the Ravens.
And like I said, this is probably going to be the tough year for the 49ers because this is probably their all in. I don't think they're going to make the Super Bowl next year with all that, with that huge cap hit.
See, but here's the thing, though, is I mean, they still have Brock Purdy on a rookie deal, so like they're basically paying him nothing. So
Mhm.
like they kind of can afford it. It's kind of one of those like weird things where like maybe, but like I don't see how they're gonna lose a bunch of players going into next year.
Yeah, but I mean, you
They
can't really
just,
keep Debo and Christian McCaffrey. I mean, you kept Bosa, but like I said, all these other people, you can't really
but I
keep
mean,
these.
but that's the beauty of having the Brock Purdy right now is he's literally making nothing. The dude's making like less than $1 million a year, while all these other dudes are getting paid. I mean, it'll catch up to them probably in about what's in year 2. It'll catch up to them, I think, in about year 4 of. So like I think they might have 1 or 2 more years of cheap Brock Purdy.
Yeah, and then I
I'd say
think
to pay
Brock
Brock
Purdy.
Purdy, like if Brock Purdy wins them a Super Bowl, they might have to renegotiate his deal next year, and then you might be right. Like if they have to like give him a huge contract because he's a Super Bowl champ, then they're kind of screwed. But I mean, if they're just straight business, like we're talking about the Chiefs are, because like here's how the Chiefs are a dynasty, exactly what you said. Like they're willing to let people go over money. Where the 49ers kind of show that Rams mentality where it's like, we'll pay everything to win this one.
It's all or nothing. They're like, I got pocket kings. I'm
Well,
I'm going all in.
But I mean, if the 49ers are smart, like you're not extending Purdy until the last minute. Even if he wins the Super Bowl, you're like, cool, dude. Like you're still on a rookie deal. Like you're a bargain for us. You're gonna allow us to be competitive. But if they go out and they pay Brock Purdy $30 million a year, they're screwed.
Yeah. Like I said, we'll see how it goes.
We'll
But
see
anyway,
what happens.
well, like I said, I want to. So, how long have we been talking about this great game Oh my goodness, been about an hour. Can you believe it? 1 hour we're talking about this. Great. Why the 49ers made it to the Super Bowl. This honestly was very fun, Douglas.
Yeah, I liked it. It's a fun recap. It's been a fun season because it was kind of fun to like reminisce on the low points of their season too. Because like it's really easy to look back and say, oh yeah, they were great. We knew they'd be great, but like they had that really ugly 3-game losing streak, and they had the really bad game against the Ravens. You know, so it's like the NFL is like literally such an interesting league because it's such close margins. You know, like you said, like if they lose Debo, they might not be competitive for the Super Bowl next year. Like he might be that important to them because they were a completely different team without him in the game.
Yeah. And then, like I said, this team has been pretty dominant. They've been pretty good. But can they beat the Chiefs? That is the one question. Can they do what Garoppolo didn't do in 2019? Garoppolo couldn't do it. And let's be honest, his career is probably going to be like a B tier quarterback at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really going to get another starting chance. I mean, he's in his 30s. Like, you know, I mean, he technically has some rings as Brady's backup, but like no team has given Garoppolo the keys to their franchise. I mean, especially in today's day and age, like there's so many good quarterbacks in this draft class. Like, would you rather take the 22-year-old rookie or Garoppolo, who wants $40 million a year to be probably?
Yeah, that's all that dead cap, and it's just like, no.
Well, yeah, I mean, why would you pay Garoppolo that when you could go out and probably get Michael Penix or Bo Nix in the second round, or JJ McCarthy, or my goodness, the top 3 quarterbacks this year's draft class are like generational talents potentially.
Yeah.
Like you could have like 4 or 5 starting quarterbacks in this draft class probably.
Yes. But like I said, we'll see. And like I said, before we go, and I always say it, can he do it? Can Purdy be the greatest Mr. Irrelevant to ever win a Super Bowl as a quarterback? Can he do what Garoppolo could never do 5 years ago? And I know
yeah.
Like I said, they're haunted by that Super Bowl. You created a dynasty. And like I said, that dynasty faded with the 49ers.
Well, I mean, I think too, I know at least I forgot until recently, like they were up by 10 late in that Super Bowl. You know, it's not like it was a foregone conclusion that the Chiefs would win. Like they were up late in the game and they blew it.
Yeah, they blew it. So,
they blew it.
Like I said, can they not blow it this time when they play against the Chiefs? But anyway, Douglas, I guess I would say before we go, do anything else to say about the 49ers?
Not really. Like I think it's a really passionate fan base, and like just seeing all my coworkers, I wouldn't mind seeing them win one. You know, like I don't like to see dynasties. Like I kind of like to see the competitive balance. So like I wouldn't mind seeing the 49ers get one done.
Yeah.
Fun team. I don't know.
I will say as a Cowboys fan, I don't want the 49ers to win it. They clocked us.
Yeah, I mean that's where I have a hard part is like just knowing how close the Lions were. And then if like I see them go out and like dominate the Chiefs, I'm like, that could have been the Lions.
That could have been the Lions, and you're just gonna be like, oh, you're gonna be so. And like I said, when we talk about the UG of the Lions, we'll discuss that. But anyway, I guess we are pretty much all done with this one. So, like I said, our game plan is for the next couple days. Thursday, would you agree, Douglas? On Thursday,
that's the hope.
You're gonna get your notes up, and I will read the notes for why the Kansas City Chiefs made it to back-to-back Super Bowls. We both thought they were not going to make it this far, but they somehow did.
You know, this is the type of stuff that makes legends. Like, this is like the anti-Josh Allen right here. It's like nobody picks them, and they're still like, we're still going to do it. Where Josh Allen can have everything go right, and I'm like, all right, you have a literal perfect scenario, home field advantage, everything in the world that you could want, and you still blow it. Like, it's unbelievable. Yeah. And Mahomes is like, I don't care who I'm playing, where I'm playing them, how I'm playing them. I'm just a winner.
So, like I said, I think this is going to be fun when we get to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I don't know if we'll get over an hour. We'll see how it goes. But like I said, that's going to be our game plan. So next Thursday, this Thursday, sorry, next Thursday, we are not going to do a recap after the Super Bowl. We're going to do this Thursday. We're going to do the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to do a game recap on them. And then, would you agree, Friday, Douglas, we'll do the final tier maker on the 49ers and the Chiefs with the 2 eulogies of the Ravens and your sad Lions. And then
Well, we'll
And then
see on Friday, hopefully Friday. I gotta be
Yeah.
skiing. I gotta get my skiing in.
oh my god, you know what's more important than skiing? Tier making. I'm just saying. And also I'm free on Friday, so I just want to let you know. So I'm free all day on Friday. So but,
Cool.
but like I said, and then next week, we're gonna try to do we're gonna also try to do is a season recap for all the teams that didn't make it to the playoffs. We'll do our final tier maker for those teams. And then the week after that, we get to do all the teams that made it to the playoffs, do a tier maker and see what could have changed to make them to the Super Bowl, Douglas.
All right.
Unless you're the Steelers, and then I'm just going to be like, there's no hope for you guys.
Well,
sorry, Pittsburgh fans. I'm sorry. But am I
Mhm.
not wrong?
You're not wrong. All
Yeah.
right. Well, I'm excited. Till next time, brother.
All righty. Till next time, we'll get you laters because I'll catch you laters, Mr. Gators. Take care.